We might have seen you. Did we have a convention last year?
Yes.
We hosted it last year, so.
I was only there for a little bit though. Alright, so basically, I don't know what everybody's background is. I'm assuming everyone knows a color wheel. Basically, yes, no. Like red and blue make purple, like mixing. Okay, so what I brought 3 examples of something a little bit more advanced from just the color wheel. So one of the reasons that I'm focusing mostly on acrylics as opposed to spirit dyes today is because one of the... I should start with the photographer's trick. You guys, anybody here a photographer? No? You have a camera? One of the things that photographers will do is they'll measure the light before they take a picture. And there's a cheat way that they can do it. It's called 18% gray, which is the neutral gray. It's sort of the most gray you'll see in a day, no matter where you're looking. And your hand actually matches 18% gray. So a photographer will often do this, hold up their camera, take a light meter, and then balance that with everything else. This is the exact same thing. So whenever you're using spirit dyes and you're doing color, you always have to count on the fact that any really bright tone, which we call jewel tones, is not actually going to be that bright once it's on leather, because you automatically have that kind of brown and almost an 18% gray. It's not a gray, it's still a brown. Yeah, but you lose 18% of your lightness and your color. So I said this is one of the reasons I'm focusing on acrylics, because with acrylics you can actually put leather, or the paint on the leather and it will stay on, as opposed to the spirit dyes, which will sink in and usually last a little longer, but will always have that little bit of dullness to them. And you can also see, like, I just added any other colors here for reference. You get the pastels, which is adding white, colors, adding shading, adding black, and the gray tones, just about the same. And you can see on these how the brown and the gray are actually very similar. Make sense? So, obviously with the grays you get a lot more blue. With the earth tones, which is what you see on the walls, ceiling, basically everywhere these days, it's always adding a little bit of brown, which is not adding one color or adding black or adding white, it's adding actually 2 different colors to the first color. So in order to get, so if you want a brown, you would add red, yellow, and blue together, and depending on how you mix it, you end up with more of one or the other. In this case, to get this kind of color, if you were to try and paint this, you would actually want to use orange, or like an already, say a basic brown. Something like this. Add a little bit of white. That's basically your color right there. Later. So anytime that you're working with leather and you're working with paint, you're starting out with this color and working off of that. If you guys want, I've got plenty of water and I've got plenty of little bits of paper. Feel free to pull out a piece of paper, a piece of leather, and if you want something to put underneath your stuff just in case, this is bleed proof, it should not bleed through to the table. So, help yourself, pass it around.
Pass it this way.
Oh, this over here.
I already have it.
Is this your paper?
No, there's plenty to go around. Should be a huge stack. Oh, keep in mind this paper is not bleed proof, so if you put anything on it, it might bleed through the table. Use the other stuff.
Oh, no.
It's like the big ones, the protective sheets. So take a piece of leather, any piece you want. Help yourselves.
This?
Yeah. No.
No, this one?
Yeah.
Mine did it. You are just picky.
These are waterfalls.
Here.
Yeah.
Another.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, everybody can also take a paintbrush. Grab whatever you think you might feel comfortable with.
Can we share or do we? We can share. We can share. Okay. You like that one?
Paintbrush as well.
That one's mine.
No.
Not fussy.
Okay.
You want some cookie bread?
I went to go and check the bristles and it fell off.
One of these two.
Went for dinner and I slopped it.
That's okay.
Oh, man. I wear white very often for a reason.
Alright, just a quick note about the paintbrushes. These are all synthetics. These are not real. Well, I'm sorry, like these ones are actually real fur. Everything else is synthetic. When you're working with spirit dyes or oil paint or anything that has any kind of oil in it, you don't want to use synthetics. You want to use natural bristle because you may end up with like little spots and things. It's actually how it works. You can see where there's little look like scratches. That's the kind of technique or texture you're actually gonna get with oil. Sometimes it's cool, but if you're using the wrong brush with oils, that's the kind of thing that ends up happening. So you don't get a nice solid color. But since we're using acrylics, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to dip my brush in my drink again. There's two separate techniques that I use for acrylics. So wet one side here. Get it nice and moist. And we'll go with Big Bad and Blue. How often does everybody use acrylics? A lot? Okay. Like on your leather? Anyone? Yeah, once in a while. Okay.
Rocks.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm afraid of adding color. That's why.
Oh, okay.
I think if I did all this stuff and then I put color and I don't like it, it'll be like.
What brand do you use? Desiree?
Sorry?
What brand do you use?
I like basics. Because they're actually really good acrylics and they're competitively priced. Now, you can get better ones for more expensive, but I don't have that kind of money. So most of the time when people are using acrylics, this is what they do. This is the kind of thing that will give you a nice jewel tone. Or basically, you know, you can see the blue pretty easily. It's not soaking in very well. It will stick though. The cool thing with acrylics though, add a little bit of water first. You can actually do washes just like you would with spirit dyes, or just like you would with, say, a watercolor. It'll sink right in, but you can see already I'm losing some of the color and getting that 18%